Hello, everyone. Welcome to People's Depot Podcast, and I am Stephen Jackson, your host. Today, we're going to be talking again about coins, gold, and silver. In our last podcast, we had the privilege of interviewing a highly respectable individual in the area of gold and silver and numismatic coins. His name is Standish, and he had received recognition from Coin World magazine as being one of the 10 top most influential people in numismatics in the world. And that is a high privilege or a high recognition to have. What we talked about was gold and silver. We talked about coins, just various things, helping people to understand what gold and silver really is, what numismatic coins are, what are collectible coins, what are bullions. There seems to be so much confusion about what those items are. And because of the confusion, people have a problem determining whether or not they should actually invest in collectible coins or not. What I was trying to do is make sure we brought clarity to what these items really are, and if they can add to your wealth, your legacy. So I'm going to carry it a little bit further so there is no misunderstanding about what is the difference between a collectible coin or bullion, and hopefully that can help you as the audience determine what path you want to take. So the title of this podcast is, What Are Collectible Coins? And what coin should I collect? Now, those are two very important questions. We did talk about it, but we talked about so many things that it may actually kind of take our focus off of the actual coin. Now, keep in mind that when we talk about numismatic, we're really talking about a collectible coin. And that's a coin that's actually encased. As a matter of fact, this is an example of a numismatic coin, and it's actually encased in a plastic holder. And what it does is it actually protects the coin so that it can remain in its collectible state. And so that is what we're talking about. Now, oftentimes, those coins can appreciate as much as 400%. And that is a large percentage. But many times people, they kind of stay away or are not really clear about the value of those coins. And so they tend to stay away from them. Maybe you hear rumors where people might say they're not a good idea. And oftentimes it's because those numismatic coins are not what people are offering. So of course they're going to tell you to stay away from them since they don't offer. But the real truth of a numismatic coin is that it can be a great item for your portfolio and for your legacy. And when in today's designs and markets and so many people wanting to acquire gold and silver, you'll find that those coins can actually increase in value very, very quickly, oftentimes because of the stories, maybe the rarity of the coin. Those types of things tend to actually bring value to a collectible coin. And so that's what we're going to talk about, those particular items there. Now, a bullion is a coin that is not a collectible coin. It's actually an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver, whatever ounces, but it's actually the actual material itself. It is not a collector's item. And a good example of a bullion is this silver eagle. See, this will be considered a bullion. This coin's value is based on what is called a spot price. And that is a price that you'll oftentimes see in the market. And based on how that price increases or decreases, That's going to determine the value of this coin here. Now, the spot price generally refers to the actual precious metal that is not refined. In other words, it hasn't gone through a refinery. It hasn't been made into an actual coin like this or a round. And so when you see that price in the market, there's a gap between the price of the spot price as it is at that particular time and the price of the actual coin when it's all refined and delivered. So there is a small gap, a margin that is there between the spot price and the actual coin itself. But nevertheless, if the spot price increases, the actual coin increases. If the spot price decreases, the actual coin decreases. So that's kind of how you determine the bullion. That is the actual metal itself. But a numismatic coin, that is more of a collector's coin. And so there are many variables that go into the increasing, the price increase, or the appreciation that coin may actually get. And so we want to understand that. And we want to understand what that means. And we want to kind of have an idea of what type of collector's coin should we be buying. Now, a lot of times that can be on your preference. Maybe you prefer a certain thing. Maybe you prefer a certain story. The rarity of that particular coin may be something you're looking for because you know if it's very rare and you find it, it's going to have a greater value. So those are some particular characteristics that you may be thinking about of the coin that you're really trying to actually purchase. Nevertheless, you still need to understand what gives the coin that value. And that is important to know. So what I did is I'm going to include in this podcast a recording of a video that's going to explain that very thing, how that value comes. And it's also going to talk about it in terms of other collectibles like comic books, things of that nature, so that you have a clear understanding of how that particular item, that particular coin gains its value. You're also going to become aware of the fact that these precious metals or these collector coins are not just for the rich. A lot of times when we think of collector's coins, we think only the rich can afford them. There is an actual group that is actually minting such coins that increase in value drastically and have the ability for the average individual to be able to collect them themselves. Whether you're on a low income or high income or middle class income, through this process or through this particular program, the average individual can attain collector coins. And that's important because a lot of times that is what increases your wealth, and it also adds to your legacy. Imagine if you're able to get a piece of history, a collector's coin that has a piece of history that you can pass on to generations throughout your family. You see how people now are really developing that interest in that collector's coin because there's so much that coin can do. Holding a collector's coin, like this particular coin here, this is commemorating the USS Arizona from Pearl Harbor that was sunk in 1941. So this coin, there's a story to this coin. And as you think about the story, you're actually holding a piece of that history. You're going to find that out also in this podcast on how is that possible? How are you able to hold a piece of history inside of a coin? And once you actually realize that that is possible, then you can kind of see how people can arrive at a certain value, what actually helps that coin to appreciate so high. Because that's always a question, where does the value come from? Well, we're going to show you that in this podcast as well. So I want you to stay tuned. We're going to show you a video now that is going to talk about how a collectible coin gets its value. Notice.
The collectible market has proven to be a robust way for wealthy families around the world to not only protect, but also grow their wealth, and more importantly, their legacy. A collectible usually has to be rare or low mintage, has to have unique or artistic designs, a great story, or have historic significance. So if you look at the paper this amazing Spider-Man comic book from 1962 is printed on, it's only worth a couple of dollars. In 2021, this comic book sold for a record $3.6 million. The person or family that bought this book was not buying the paper. They were buying the emotion, the art, rarity, story, and other things they found valuable about this book. In fact, most wealthy families that are playing the collectibles game are doing it not only for their financial protection or gain, but also to preserve their family legacy. If you look at the top 5 places wealthy families turned in order to protect and grow their wealth during the financial crisis of 2008, you will see that 3 of the 5 things are collectible in some way. And the other 2? Sound money. Unfortunately, not many families have an extra $1 million or $2 million laying around to buy high-end collectibles, nor would they even know where to start. But 7K is bridging the gap so that the average family can start playing the game with rare, unique, but also affordable collectibles through modern coins. In 2004, a coin called Tiffany Art No. 1 hit the market for about $90. Now $90 doesn't seem unreasonable for the average family to scrape together in order to add this incredible coin to their wealth portfolio. Today though, if you wanted to go buy this same coin, it would cost you at least $8,000. But the metal in the coin is only worth roughly $50 today. The additional value in the coin is due to the rarity, story, beauty, or whatever else a potential buyer finds to be valuable. That is the added leverage or offense collectibles can add to a wealth portfolio. You can see here just a few more examples of the same thing play out in other coins. Modern collector coins have a very good track record over the last 20 to 30 years of being a powerful tool inside of the offense of a well-rounded wealth strategy. 7K not only offers some of the best coins from around the world, but also designs and mints its own coins, giving 7K members exclusive or first access. 7K also makes adding cool, unique, and rare collectible coins extremely easy through one of the most powerful member benefits called the Autosaver. The Autosaver program takes all of the thinking out of collecting and leverages the experts at 7K to send you a rare and exclusive collectible coin every single month. It is truly a set it and forget it, zero discipline approach to automate your collectible asset stacking. You will just need to choose one of the options you like best and watch them show up at your door every month. There are other ways you can also take your stacking to the next level though, with your own shopping cart called 7K Selected and also special sales called Coin Drops. 7K provides many ways to win with collectible gold and silver. As you can see here, Eddie Spears has spent very little time to get a massive head start making sure a wealth legacy comes from him. All the same, Chris Latin Sr. says he collects both bullion and collector coins, and you can see he has built a very nice stack. He even claims it is now one of his most valued possessions because of what it will mean for him and his family in the future.
Did you enjoy that video? You saw how people actually place value on certain things. And we all do it, whether we are interested in a collector's coin or if we're interested in any other type of item. It could be certain articles, it could be baseball cards, it can be cars, whatever the case is, people place value on certain items based on the story, or whatever else they may think of that is important to them. But in most cases, it's actually the design, it's the history, it's the story behind it, and it is the rarity. Because if you can find an item that everyone has, then it really doesn't have much value because it's not rare. But if you can find an item that many people do not have or own, and you're the only person that has that item, and it has a great story, it has some intrinsic value to it and some history, you might pay a little more than the usual to acquire that item. And that's what collector items are all about. That's what you find in collector's coins, comic books, baseball cards. Maybe take a baseball card, for example. Maybe it's a certain card was published years ago, but a certain individual wrote their signature on that card. You see, that can bring value because maybe that individual had a great story in their life. So you can kind of see how when you're holding these collectible items, you can just envision the time period that existed when this card, comic book, or coin came about. You see, that is truly, truly amazing. We're going to share another video with you in this podcast that will help you to see what goes into creating or designing a collector coin and what can actually increase its value. And from this video is going to help you see or be clear on how a collector coin can be valuable enough to be added to your portfolio. So take a moment and listen to this video.
No, it's just the writing and the description of the coin.
Yeah, I picked this coin out for a specific reason. And I just have to ask, does this coin really look like this?
Well, I'll tell you, the blue water and the aquamarine that is above the U.S. Arizona, it's depicted very well in this photograph. But once you hold that coin in a graded holder in your hands, it'll mesmerize you in the beauty of the color. And those are the kind of coins that I want to be involved in designing. And I want to work with mints that can produce such vibrance of the reality of what it genuinely looks like, excuse me. I've been to Pearl Harbor several times, and I've been to the USS Arizona. It's an incredible site, very somber, obviously, but it just, if you don't feel something when you've gone to the Arizona, then you have no pulse. It's an incredible place to visit.
Wow. And so on that coin, and I'm glad you said that, on that coin, we can see the waves. You can actually see the waves on that coin.
Right. Those are the ripples of the water in Pearl Harbor at the Arizona Memorial.
That is amazing.
Most people don't realize this. I know the first time over 30 years, first time I visited Pearl Harbor, I was always amazed how Pearl Harbor was so small. It's incredibly small. Maybe I just had this bigger vision of it because, big ships obviously need a big harbor, but I really, it just appeared smaller to me than what I've seen it on TV. I've seen it in the movies. I watched, the 1970s, I watched Tora, Tora, Tora. And then of course, Pearl Harbor, the movie, it's just, it's a very special place, as they call it, the Pearl.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
of course, this series of coins, it came about obviously because I had a vision of the 80th anniversary coming up in 2021. And that's why I was allowed to design this coin, because I thought the theme was important. The 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor was important to recognize, and to be able to design coins that hopefully people would enjoy to collect was extremely important to me. And it seems to have been very favorable and very exciting for collectors to obtain these coins.
Yeah, that's real nice. I had intended to show some coins. I didn't pull those coins out, but I'll show them in later videos. But we talked about what helps a coin increase in value. The story behind this coin is amazing, but the rarity. So how many coins were minted?
Of this 5-ounce coin, This is 5 ounce in silver. There's 1,177 5-ounce coins. And that number represents the sailors that were entombed in the Arizona on December 7th, 1941. Some of them survived for several days entrapped in the Arizona. The waters were full of oil. The danger of trying to rescue some of those sailors, I guess it became an impossible feat. And ultimately, through Morse code, some of those survivors that were later entombed there, who did not get saved and rescued, they were using Morse code on the hull of the ship, trying to tell people, how many people were alive at the time down below, and that, please send help. But it was a total of 1,177 ultimately that were entombed in the Arizona. And we dedicated this number to this particular coin for each one of those sailors that were entombed that day.
Wow. A story behind the number. And that number makes this coin, helps with the rarity, because it's not like 100,000 of these were minted. Like you see coins as 100,000 and they'll take forever. The rarity just won't happen real quick there. But with this, it will. And the story, there's not only a story behind the event, there's a story behind the rarity, meaning the number that you minted.
Yeah, there'll be people that will be trying to acquire this coin, and this coin recently became for sale, and it was completely sold out in 22 seconds online.
It's already rare.
Yeah. And a lot of people had a lot of hurt feelings because they couldn't get one.
Sure.
And I believe for years to come, people will still be in search of this coin, not only because of the design, but the significance of the 80th anniversary, and that it was the first time ever a series had been dedicated to Pearl Harbor and the USS Arizona. It's a 3-coin series, a 1 ounce, a 2 ounce, and a 5 ounce. And I believe for years to come, long after I'm gone, people will be in search of these coins.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. And this is what I wanted to get into, so people can understand a numismatic coin. So this is a numismatic coin.
Well, and the other thing that should be mentioned, because I think a lot of people get captivated by the color of the coin and the design of the coin. But as you can see, just to the right of the actual memorial that goes over the Arizona, in that wreath type looking area to the right of the memorial, just above the letters N and A of Arizona at the bottom of the coin, that is a piece of the hull of the US Arizona that's embedded in that coin.
Really?
And it is the only collected coin ever struck, legal tender coin, with an actual piece of the hull from the USS Arizona in it.
Wow.
I
did not know that.
I try to create ideas and deliver things that have multiple facets of interest, that you don't just talk about one thing, that it's a coin. You talk about the relief of the coin, the colors of the coin, an actual piece of memorabilia from the actual ship itself of the subject of the coin, the limited edition number. Those are multiple reasons why people will want these in demand for many years to come.
Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. And so I think I got a few other slides here. This is kind of the back of the coin, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything special about this back here?
Well, it's truly honored to the memorial. I know I gave you so much information about the front of the coin. It's like, well, so what's going on with the back here?
I had to ask.
I know this for myself, Stephen, visiting Pearl Harbor. I've heard taps played at Pearl Harbor before.
Okay.
I believe that's the right call for the bugle call. But obviously it's the death of a soldier. But I've heard taps played, not necessarily at Pearl Harbor, but at different funerals that I've attended. It's a chilling, eerie event. It's goosebumps for me. Very emotional. And, you know, that's the honor that those 1,177 sailors deserve.
Yeah. Okay, real good. And so this is kind of how the coin looks as a numismatic coin.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the actual look of that coin. Great, great. Miles, you do a great job with your design. This is your so this is a big deal in that this is your focus now, is coin designing. This is your business, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm working on. I'm working on more books.
Okay.
One in particular, I think, will be significant to probably more the bullion area, but there'll be some numismatic stories in it also.
Okay.
But, you know, in 1933, when the executive order was signed by Roosevelt, you know, a lot of those coins were melted down into bar format. Well, they needed to build a place to house those 400-ounce gold bars for the government surplus of gold. And what they ended up building that was finished in 1936 was Fort Knox, Kentucky, the U.S. Gold Vault. And so that'll be the next book that I'll publish.
And that'll be an interesting book, and I will acquire that book as well. And I appreciate that you going into detail on this coin. What you're doing it's I appreciate it. I'm sure my audience does as well. We focused on why should we acquire gold and silver. We focus on why should I buy gold and silver, or when should I buy gold and silver. We talked about numismatic coins, and we talked about bullions, things of that nature. And basically, a bullion is a non-collectible coin. It's like you said. So these are the things that our audience wants to know. Did you enjoy the video? Did you notice how Miles created that particular coin, that 5-ounce coin, and all of the things that he put into it? Now, here's an individual that has held over 10 million coins, or graded over 10 million coins in his life. He has a wealth of experience. He knows what to look for, and he knows what to put into a coin that really makes it a collector's item. Imagine a coin that has a piece of history, a piece of the actual USS Arizona inculcated into it. Can you imagine holding that coin in your hand, looking at that coin, sharing that coin, going over the stories of that time period with your children, with family members? Can you see from what he was doing, what he did in his design, can you see how that brings about increased value? It certainly does. So I hope from what we have shared with you, you can see what are collectible coins, and basically what coins should you actually acquire. I hope we have made that clear, because in my podcast, I'm often talking about gold and silver, or precious metals. That is kind of a passion for me, but it's so important today because of the times we're living in. You see, there are a lot of people that live from check to check. They do so many different things to make ends meet. They may not have the luxury of being able to have the cash just lying around to be able to buy collectibles or buy whatever they choose. Many times when you're investing in something, you have to always invest wisely, but you may not really be able to invest in what you want to invest in because the money's not there. Imagine being able to invest in something that really brings value, really brings wealth to you and your family, and it doesn't take a large budget. Imagine being able to get a piece of history where you and your whole family can share without having a large budget. You see, that is what we're trying to focus on. That is what we're trying to make people aware of. That ability is out there in today's market. We're also trying to make people aware of the fact that this is not counterfeit. This is not something that's a facade. This is not something that's not real. That is why I actually interviewed one of the foremost persons in numismatic coins, because without that, you can't really appreciate the value of coin collecting. You can't really appreciate the value of understanding an actual coin. So I hope from this podcast that we've just prepared for you, that you've gotten some value out of it, that you've gotten some clear understanding. I want you to be able to make an informed decision on your investment, whether it be collector's coin, bullions, whatever the case may be, maybe bars, whatever it is. I want you to be able to make an informed decision so that you know what steps you want to take in securing wealth for your family. Again, I'm Stephen Jackson, and this is People's Depot Podcast. I want to thank you for listening. If you're interested in hearing the audio version of this podcast, then go to peoplesdepotpodcast.com. If you're interested in listening to a video, listening and seeing a video version of this podcast, then you want to go to thepeoplesdepot.com/podcast video. Again, my name is Stephen Jackson, and the only thing I have left to say is see you later.